I'm Martina Morano. I'm here talking right now with Cheri Honkala, who's a prolific activist and organizer, particularly for issues of homelessness and poverty. She was the 2012 Green Party vice presidential candidate, and last month she ran for state representative in Pennsylvania's 197th district special election. So, Cheri, first of all, thank you so much for making the time to talk to me about this.
I'm happy to be here tonight.
Great.
We got to talk about these things.
I completely agree. So for some quick background, it seemed like a win was actually possible, which is tough for Green Party candidates usually. But in this case, it really did seem like you had a good shot because the Democrat in the race ended up also running as a write-in candidate due to some issues with zoning. I think he lived out of the district. So can you talk about how close you believe you were to winning and explain what happened and what your lawsuit is about?
Well, this should have just been a slam dunk. I should have won this election if it was a fair election, if it wasn't, if I wasn't robbed by the Democratic Party, I would be a state rep today and addressing issues of climate change and hunger and homelessness and all of those kinds of things. But the Democratic Party, pulled a fast one on the people of this district and, intimidated folks, committed fraud, and then also lied to the folks of my district and told them that the district was going to be taken over by a Republican when, in fact, less than 5% ever vote for Republicans in this district, and there was no chance in hell that my district would ever be taken over by Republicans.
So it really was that close. You really were like kind of a shoo-in.
Yes, I had a really good ground game. I was really excited by the coalition of different folks that were working on my campaign. There was, staunch Green Party supporters, but there was also Bernie Democrats that were working on my campaign, and a whole host of different folks, young people who had never been involved in politics before. And so everybody was really excited. People in the dead of winter knocked on, every single door. And we had, we talked to everybody in this district. I also have a long history of name recognition and doing work in this community around poverty, hunger, and homelessness, and every possible issue. So we were really excited. The one thing that I fault myself for is not anticipating the possibility that they would steal this thing. Sure enough, that's what happened. Literally on election day, they set up tables in front of every door where you would go in to vote, and kept telling everybody that came, come here. This is where you do your registration. This is where you sign in. And that's not where you sign in. You sign in when you go inside. Everybody else that was running either had to write their name in a box, or for folks like myself and Emilio Vasquez, we got stamps because we didn't want anybody to, mess up our names. But the problem is that I didn't cheat and my campaign didn't cheat. So they had stamps on the inside. We have documentation of 2 and 3 different people going into one poll together. We have documentation of the night of the election, the votes being at Emilio's party on election night. We have, footage of an election judge handing off money to somebody, just pages and pages worth of devastating stuff. And for me, it was really devastating because I've been to I've been an election monitor in both El Salvador and in Venezuela. And the kind of corruption that I saw in my own neighborhood and in this district kind of made certain elements of election fraud in other parts of the world look like a picnic.
That's incredible to me. I think, and like you were saying that you're mad at yourself that you didn't consider that they would steal the election, and even just sitting and listening to it, it's all stuff that, I mean, I'm not at all surprised. The Democrats, like their modus operandi is to cheat. Like we're seeing that now, that in every election that comes up, there are allegations of cheating on the part of the Democrats. And yet every time I hear it, it's shocking to me, just shocking. So there's no question in your minds, your campaign, that that this was a coordinated effort on the part of the Democratic candidate and his campaign to derail this election and to win by cheating.
Absolutely. This was nothing more than, nothing less than organized crime. You know, I had heard different kinds of things while I was running. You know, people would, you know, make jokes, but I didn't realize that they weren't jokes. They were actually very real. Because they said, you know, Cheri, you know, in this district, we deal in cash. And so I didn't know anything about that. You know, I didn't know that in this election, first you had to get like a menu, and that, you know, you could order different things on the menu. You could literally ask for, these are the amount of votes that I want from this ward, and this is how much it cost. And I didn't know those things, but I certainly learned on election day. For me, it was pretty much like being hit by a bus.
That's seriously a thing. Like they could really pick how many votes they want and whatever. Like that's really, is that what you're saying? Like that's literally what's happening?
Yeah, literally, I was told that I could determine for money a certain percentage of votes. So I was devastated. I didn't know these things really happen like this. I mean, you know, I'd heard about it, you know, yeah, voter fraud, corruption, that kind of thing. I didn't realize how arrogant they were about it. And the fact that, you know, some folks in the district are like, you know, Cheri, it's been like this. It's always been like this, and it's going to stay like this because the people that you're taking on are very powerful people, and they're just going to do what they do, which is to pay people to stay quiet. And they're going to fight to make sure that this gets in front of a judge that, you know, has corruption on the mind. And, you know, I mean, for us, it was even devastating because on election day, our district attorney, it's not like we could call up Seth Williams on election day because our DA was out on bail, and he was out on bail for corruption.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, like, who do you call? So that was pretty rough. So we called, you know, the assistant DAs, but we know that everybody's mind was on that trial on election day. And, you know, quite frankly, they didn't do their job. Nobody that was responsible for, you know, the Secretary of State, the county commissioners, they're all responsible for ensuring that on election day, when we go into the polls to vote, that we're not intimidated, that we're able to go in there, close the curtain, have total privacy, and vote for Mickey Mouse if we want, whoever we want. And that is very sacred. And I take that very seriously because, you know, whether it was the fight with women, with suffragettes, and the fight to vote, or especially during the civil rights movement. I mean, many people lost their lives fighting for our right to vote. And the fact that all of these folks just figured that they could continue to do the criminal thing that they do in their organized crime way, was, just absolutely appalling. And that's why we don't care. We're going to do everything in our power. We're still trying to raise like another $4,000 for this case. My whole life is on hold right now because it's not like, I'm like in midair because I don't know when we're going to court. I've been told by my attorney we could go any day. And we really need the general public's eyes on this process because, guys, if they can get away with doing that here, they can get away with doing it every single place across the country. And I'm telling you, I've gone through a serious loss of innocence now. And I just want to give advice. Anybody that is running for office out there, it's a pattern. They steal elections over and over and over and over again. And we, people in this country that are against that, we need to make sure that we have poll watchers, that we have people that are working the tables, that we make sure that we do the necessary kinds of training to ensure that we have election monitors. They just assume, well, our folks are going to be trusting, naive people who just think that people are going to, fight this thing fairly. And, certainly we don't think that people are going to risk going to prison for, committing felonies and committing election fraud. But I'm sorry to say that's what time it is right now. And it's because they're not interested in ensuring that we have the real progressives that are there in office that are willing to take on these corporations and get money out of politics in the first place. The reason that they're doing this is to ensure that their organized crime gang continues to reap the benefits off the people's backs so that they can continue to have their two houses and their luxury cars and, their expensive little trips. And with our DA, greed just took a hold of him. And it became too obvious. I mean, he began charging drug dealers in jail money. And if they paid him enough money, then our DA would let them out of jail. And so people were, somebody bought him a Jaguar and then, fancy trips and all of these kinds of things. So either we're going to have elected officials that are about getting, their group together and ensuring that their group stays in there and they take care of their own little families, or we're going to ensure that no longer in this country can we block progressives from being elected. Who, I'm running, and, I'm still running. If I've said all along that I would share my daily per diem. I don't need the $80,000 a year for a salary. That could provide additional staff and be put back into my district. We don't have to practice that kind of politics. We can practice the politics of love.
I think that's beautiful. I couldn't have said it better myself. So are you able to tell me who it was who told, can we name names? Who was it that told you that you could buy this election?
No, I am not allowed to tell names right now. People are receiving subpoenas, and we want to make sure that people stay in town before the trial. So a lot of people are not getting Valentines delivered to their doors. They're getting subpoenas. And, it's going to be some difficult days ahead. And, they're going to try to scare me. intimidate the folks that want fair elections and an end to corruption and a different kind of life in this district. This is the poorest district in Pennsylvania, and we're not going to stop, and we're not going to be afraid. We've got each other, and we've got justice on our side.
So best case scenario, if you win the lawsuit, what is that going to look like for your district? And also, will that also mean that the election gets overturned? Does that mean there's going to be a new election, or that, the next person who got the most votes wins by, well, I guess there would have to be a new election, right? Anyway, you tell me.
Yep. New election, because when you're buying votes and you're going in the machine and just stamping a bunch of names, we can't honestly say who came in second, or, even, of course, who came in first, because the whole thing, we just got to scrap it, and we have to start it again. And that's what we're determined to make sure happens, is, all hell is going to break loose if we do not get a new special election in this district. The people that live in my district, it's been this way for 60 some years. Some of the people that are working on my campaign have been in this community for 60 years. And it's been one corrupt official after another, and we continue to sink into poverty. Loved ones go to jail, die from overdoses. There's no employment, no affordable housing. And the corporations are just creeping in each and every day into this district and taking it over. And so we have to make sure that, as they say in the Hunger Games, that we, take on the Capitol and take the district back for ourselves.
I couldn't think of someone who necessarily is better suited for that fight than you are, Cheri. And
thank you.
So you said that you're still raising funds for the trial. Do you have like an Indiegogo or something that you can share that we can put in the?
Yeah, we have my campaign website. It's Cheri, CHERI197.com. That's CHERI197.com. And if people make a financial contribution, we'd greatly appreciate it. During my campaign, everybody was robbed, not just the folks that worked on my campaign here, not myself, not the people of my district, but all of those donors. There was over 2,000 donors that donated anywhere from $20 to $40. And that's amazing in a special election. And so it's going to cost about $10,000 to take these crooks on, but we have to do it. I know that some of them are, pretending like they're not afraid, but they're going to have their day in court. And, I think that some folks are, just going to start talking about the truth about what's happening. And, I'm looking forward to that. And we're going to try to encourage as many folks from independent media to watch and cover the trial, because we know it's not going to be on CNN. Actually on CSNBC or something for about 5 seconds. And they referred to the Republican and the Democrats, and totally made me invisible. So, but that's a classic thing, right? Anybody that's independent usually gets, whited out or blacked out of the media. And so that's why programs like this are really important.
All right. So once again, that's Cheri Honkala fighting for election integrity, fighting for the 197th district in Pennsylvania. Please support her in this initiative, in this lawsuit that she's doing. We're going to put the Indiegogo, her fundraiser website down in the description of this video. And I hope that everyone will consider donating.
$1.97. $197.
Also, to please just keep on top of the coverage of this story because it is a huge deal. All right. So thanks again for talking to me.
Thank you so much. And I'll keep you updated.